The city is unveiling its monument honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King today. Speaking now is former Governor Deval Patrick. Let's listen in.
What I did to be assigned to follow you. It's hard for me to express in the 3 or 4 minutes I've been told I have all that I'm feeling today. I feel gratitude to Paul and Imari, to their teams, to Demond and Kia, and to the many, many others who organized and funded this magnificent monument. I feel awe at both the grandeur and the intimacy of Hank's artistry. I feel joy at the presence of the King family and honor. I feel delight that our enduring interest in memorializing Massachusetts history expands today to include more of our history. And maybe most of all, I feel humility as we are reminded that we tread on the same paths and in the same neighborhoods as Martin Luther and Coretta Scott King. Dr. King is among the few public leaders I know of who moved a big, broad-based, transformative social, economic, and legislative agenda founded entirely on love. Love of the familiar and the stranger. Love of the ally and the adversary. Love of the history of America and of the possibility of America. He challenged all of us to imagine an America big enough in spirit to respect all of us, to dignify all of us, indeed, to embrace all of us. This monument makes me wonder just what the Kings would make of the false choices so many of our leaders offer up today. The false choice between economic growth and economic justice, between freedom and health, between sanctuary and a secure border, between respect for blue lives and respect for black lives. Martin and Coretta King knew that an embrace is no concession, it's no sign of weakness, quite the opposite. They embrace both the adversary and the cause in the same beloved community. And they showed us that strong advocacy grounded in love can break shackles, heal hearts, and make room in whole societies for more of us. Dr. and Mrs. King loved American ideals. One of the most meaningful ideas Dr. King ever spoke about was when he said his dream was deeply rooted in the American dream. The Kings were unflinching about America's shortcomings. They were surely disappointed and frustrated by the violent resistance of some and the indifference of a whole lot of others, by the slow pace of change. And yet they never mocked American ideals. Instead, they lived them by caring about the left out and the left back, hearing the unheard, seeing the unseen, calling out the inescapable link between the mighty and the meek. They lived American ideals by being the light that drives out darkness. And to many in the moment and many more through the echoes of time, they gave us a reason to hope. There's something especially lovely about a work of public art called The Embrace, ever sitting here in this place, known as slow sometimes to open its arms to others. But once we do, our embrace is warm and firm and lasting. And every time we embrace newcomers or each other, we have become stronger. So let this monument be a reminder to us, even here, that history remembers our embraces best of all, and that we have in us still the capacity and the call to love. Thank you.
And we just heard from former Governor Deval Patrick kicking off the embrace ceremony on the Boston Common. And here's a look at the statue. It's 22 feet, bronze statue that really honors Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his wife, Coretta Scott King. And as I said, that 22-foot bronze monument, it symbolizes the hug Dr. King shared with his wife after winning the Nobel Prize back in 1964. It also celebrates the couple's time in the city. And I know we have two reporters there. We have Mike Sullivan and Paul Burton kind of capturing the moment of the day. We heard from so many people, from the organizers of this event to elected officials. We heard from Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, former Governor Deval Patrick, really talk about this moment that's been years in the making, this monument honoring Dr. King, his legacy, his family. We also heard from his oldest son, MLK III, his wife, and Martin Luther King Jr.'s granddaughter, and there it is, that bronze statue being unveiled. And to recap what this monument really means, it sits at the Boston Common. It's brand new, just unveiled now. It's a 22-foot bronze monument. It symbolizes the hug Dr. King shared with his wife, Coretta Scott King, after winning the Nobel Prize in 1964. And we heard from his children about the significance of not only Boston, but this monument on the Boston Common. We know that Boston is the city that both Martin Luther King Jr. and his wife met. And his kids saying Boston holds such a big significance to them. If it wasn't for Boston, very well they wouldn't be here. So one, having this monument unveiled in the city ahead of Martin Luther King Jr. Day on Monday, there's just so much symbolism. You heard from former Governor Deval Patrick talking about the moments and the struggle to get to this point, to get this monument on the Boston Common, a historic park in Boston as well.